Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, what's up? It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us on a Thursday. Oh, yeah, a lot in store for you today. We're going to have some fun today. We don't have fun every day. Sometimes it's miserable walking into the station. But today I walked in, I got out of my car, I said, you know what? I'm going to change things up. We're actually going to have fun today. We're still going to talk about some serious subjects, but we're going to try to have a good time. Anyway, welcome to the show. Glad you are with us. As I said, we got a lot to get to. You know, I've been wanting to interview this guy for a long time. Republican candidate for president, Mark Sanford. Remember he had that issue years back where he said he was in the Appalachian Mountains hiking. Well, he was having an affair, and it did hurt his political career. He's back at it, and he's running for president now. So we're going to talk to Mark Sanford. He's making a lot of issue over how much money we are in the tank in this country, the deficit. So we're going to talk to him a little bit about that and many other topics as well. We're going to get to this NBA load management crap. Have you heard about this? Yeah, Kawhi Leonard didn't play yesterday. Not because he was hurt, but because he was resting. Absolutely absurd. We will get to this story. It's Thursday. That also means it's our Dirty Dining segment with Darcy Spears. And one of the restaurants that she found is Hash Hash A Go-Go. I've been there a gazillion times. You're not going to believe what they found there. So Darcy will coming up in hour number 3, as well as Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. And the Raiders have a pretty big game today. They are playing the Chargers. And a guy from the San Jose Mercury News who covers the Raiders, beat writer John Becker, will be joining us in hour number 3 as well. So as I said, jam-packed show, a lot to get to, a lot to talk about, but a big story that is not just a local story, but it is making national news and is the way that Carolyn Goodman is coming up with this ordinance to deal with the homeless. We touched on it a little bit yesterday. It passed, and it is going into law. They've adopted a controversial proposal. It bans people from camping and sleeping in public areas in downtown Las Vegas and in residential areas throughout the city if there are beds free at established homeless shelters. Under this ordinance, violators could be charged with a misdemeanor crime, but here's where it gets really interesting. It is punishable up to 6 months in jail and or a $1,000 fine. Have you ever met a panhandler, a homeless person living on the streets that could pay a $1,000 fine? In fact, I know a lot of people that work full-time that wouldn't be able to pay a $1,000 fine, that live paycheck to paycheck, let alone a homeless person. So the question is, what do we do with these people that are homeless? Well, let me start with this law that's put into place here in Las Vegas. Let me start with my opinions on that, and then I want to get your thoughts on it. Let me be very clear on this. This is stupid. This is not the way to handle the situation. First of all, if you take these homeless people off the streets and you cite them with a $1,000 fine, they're never going to pay it. Any logical person would agree with me on that. That is dumb. That's number one. Number two, many of these places that are housing homeless people, these shelters, are full. So if you have shelters that are full, these people have nowhere else to go. What do you expect them to do? I believe it will give them reason to commit crimes. I believe it will give them more reason to rob people, to steal from people, to break into businesses, to be sleeping in private property. I believe this is going to cause more harm than good. And also, our jails are not set up. The Clark County Detention Center was not built to house homeless people. Jails are not shelters. Jails should be set up for criminals, mainly violent criminals that can harm society. Not a guy that's living in a sleeping bag on the strip or downtown. That's not what our jails were set up for. Now, I understand and I sympathize with Carolyn Goodman to this extent. I understand that there's not a lot of options here. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about. I don't have all the answers. That might shock you. I don't. But, Oscar Goodman, our former mayor, and of course the husband to Carolyn Goodman, suggested some interesting things here that I want to share with you. And then we'll take your phone calls because I want to know what you think should happen here at 257-5396. So Oscar Goodman has suggested busing homeless people 30 miles south to a former jail in Jean. It's got air conditioning. It's ready medical treatment facilities as well. And it could be used to train them for reentering the workforce. I actually like that idea. It's a start. Instead of fining somebody $1,000 and putting them in jail. It doesn't make any sense. We have some audio of a homeless veteran. And, a good amount of these homeless people are veterans. It's very, very sad. So we have audio from a homeless veteran that is upset with Mayor Goodman. I want you to hear what he has to say.
They don't hear what we're saying. This is absolutely the beginning, and I will work with everybody and anybody who wants to support this to recall the mayor. This is absolutely unacceptable. I can't imagine what she is thinking, but it certainly isn't about people. And at the end of the day, we are all people. We are Americans, and we are Nevadans.
And I agree with that, but the money has to come somewhere, right? But I really do feel for her. This is someone who risked her life for this country, and she's upset with Mayor Goodman. I get that, but I would ask her, what is her solution? And I ask you the same question. What is your solution to the homeless issue? And not just in Las Vegas, right? Across the country, we know what's going on in California. What is the issue? What do we do with these people? This is Mayor Pro Tem Michelle Fiore. She was on Fox and Friends defending this ordinance, and here's what she had to say.
What we're doing with this ordinance is giving them many options. One, if you just can't camp on public or private property, especially if there's space for you to go and sleep and have a space to come to. Mm-hmm. Second, the officers will ask them to either move along or if they don't know where our corridor of hope is or where the beds are, we'll actually transport them to there. So there's choices.
See, I disagree with her. With all due respect to Michelle Fiore, there's not a lot of choices. Does she not understand that many of these shelters are booked to capacity? Does she not understand how crowded the streets are with homeless people? There is no way that you're going to be able to get all those homeless people into shelters. It is not going to happen. There are not choices. And I like Oscar Goodman's plan here. He's suggesting moving these people 30 miles south to this former jail in Jean. I like it. He also called for panhandlers, saying that the homeless people were coming to Las Vegas in droves, and that must stop. He was attacking panhandlers. He said Las Vegas is gaining a reputation for having a heart for the homeless, and that is unacceptable to me. So some controversial comments from Oscar. He also said that he has no tolerance for panhandlers and hustlers, able-minded and able-bodied people who refuse to work. Listen, that's the extreme. I do think in some cases I agree with Oscar Goodman. But in all cases, no. There are some, the issue with the homeless, there's a lot of different issues here. The number to call, and I have this question for you. What should we do with these people? What can you do? What should we do? What should Carolyn Goodman do? The number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, 257-5396. And by the way, before we take calls, there are a lot of different reasons why these people are on the streets. There's not one reason. We can't single out one reason, but I'll give you some logical reasons. Number one has to be mental illness, right? If you are extremely mentally ill and you haven't received the help that you need, you're probably not going to be able to get in the workforce and get a job. You're probably going to end up on the streets. I think another issue, clearly, gambling, substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, gambling, the bad decisions and choices you make in your life. And yes, gambling is considered a gambling issue or problem can be considered a mental illness. If you have a substance abuse problem, that's a disease. So absolutely, in many of these circumstances, it might not be their fault. These people need help. Now, is that every single person that doesn't take any personal responsibility might be a lifelong criminal? I'm not saying every single homeless person has mental illness. I'm not saying every single homeless person has a gambling problem or a drinking problem or a drug problem. No, but I would say the majority of them do. I disagree with Oscar Goodman on this premise that every single one of these people are scumbags and lazy and don't want to work. I completely disagree with that premise. To me, that's like saying every illegal that crosses the border is a criminal. I'm not going to demonize every single homeless person, just like I'm not going to demonize every single illegal that crosses the border and breaks the law. I refuse to do that, and I'm not going to do that here. So again, I ask you this question. What is your solution? What do you think about this ordinance? Maybe you agree with it. Maybe you think if you're homeless on the streets, let's give them a fine, because I'm sure they'll pay a $1,000 fine, and let's send them to jail. Are you okay with that? Maybe you are. I want to hear from you. I want to know what your solution is to the homeless problem, particularly right here in Las Vegas. And again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. And let's start off with Alex. Alex, what do you think about all this?
Hello?
Yeah, Alex, go ahead.
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
So I get out quite a bit and do some work through the church, and we feed the homeless. And I want you to know that I've personally seen you're not even allowed when you're out trying to help feed them or do other things. They won't even let you stop and speak on the sidewalk. Metro patrols.
That's ridiculous.
And Usher, they're treated very, very poorly. That's number one. I want to make that point because I've seen this.
First of all, let me say thank you. I'll let you let me say thank you first, because people like you you're a good person to do that, to try to help these people. And I'm really sorry that Metro has decided to do that, to not let you try to help these people. So first of all, I'm not a very religious person. I don't say this very often, but God bless you for doing that, for at least attempting to try to help these people. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, thank you. And it's not just me. It's many people who are out trying to help with this particular issue. But that's not really what I'm calling about. I just wanted to say that. But the reason I'm calling is I don't believe that we're doing anything to help the situation when we pass laws and openly say, well, it isn't perfect, it's a starting point. Well, why don't you just huddle up, get it right, get it done in an effective way from the beginning? This is almost reminiscent of pass Obamacare, and then we'll tell you what's in the bill. I mean, come on.
Alex, let me ask you this. I don't disagree with you. Yeah, Alex, I don't disagree with you, but let me ask you this before I let you go. What do you think is the solution here?
I'll be honest with you. I think it's super comprehensive. There's a lot of layers to it. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all. I don't honestly have an answer. I think that it's going to take a lot more than just the city, state, and federal government to fix it. I think it's going to take everyone.
Well, I appreciate that.
This issue go away.
I appreciate your comments, Alex, and thank you for being a good person and trying to help these people. And you're right. There's no easy solution here. I agree with everything you said. 257-5396, the number to call again, 702-257-5396. Talking about the homeless issues and, of course, the new ordinance that was passed yesterday with Carolyn Goodman, fining somebody up to $1,000 for sleeping on the streets and, in some cases, throwing them in jail. Let's go to Eddie. Eddie, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about all this?
Well, first of all, the Goodmans, if it's some sleazebag in a silk suit that has a lot of money to pay legal fees like Tony Spilatro, they don't have any problem of taking all the mob money over the years. So if you're on the top of the food chain, they have one set of rules. If you're on the bottom and you don't have the money to pay the legal fees, or another one. But these homeless shelters are going to be inundated with lawsuits. If these people don't want to be there, they'll say they slipped in the shower and hurt their back. Or they'll file complaints with the health department.
Eddie, isn't it? And I agree. Isn't it interesting? Right, we're talking about people with money again. If you're somebody with money, you get out of a pretty bad squabble. But if you're a homeless person that's not paying taxes and sleeping on a sidewalk, it just seems to me that the majority of these politicians, you're right, they just don't care about them, I think.
Yeah, well, one of the problems, they had a bunch of flop houses, single-room only motels. They had a dumpy trailer court north of downtown, and they said, well, it's no good. We want to shut it down, and, the so-called gentrification.
Right.
So people, including the Goodman's sons, are real estate speculators. So they bought up all the dumps that poor people used to live in, whether trailer courts or SRO places, and they sit vacant or they yuppified them into high-priced condos. So one of the reasons there's so much homelessness is the dumps they used to stay in have all been yuppified.
Well, Eddie, sadly, you're right. And there's a lot of reasons why many of these people don't have places to live, and that's certainly one of them. And you're also right with what you said about people in suits, politicians. Listen, I like Oscar Goodman. I'll be honest with you. I do. I've gotten a chance to know him very well over the years. I don't think he's a bad guy. I've also gotten a chance to get to know Carolyn Goodman. I've interviewed her on many occasions. I think she is a very nice lady. I think particularly is very wrong on this issue. We cannot send people to jail because they are homeless. That's not what jail is for. It should be for violent criminals, people who commit violent acts. It's to protect society. Many of these homeless people are not hurting others. They're hurting themselves. Now, some of them are. Certainly, there's a percentage of these homeless people. See, I think about this as I think about illegal immigration, right? A small percentage of illegals are committing crimes. The majority of the illegals are not bad people. I believe the majority of these people that don't have a place to live are not bad people. I've always felt that way. Number to call, 702-257-5396. Let's go to D. D, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, I'm a first-time caller, and I'm a native Las Vegan. And what you're saying, you're actually double-talking because you're saying that these people are homeless. First of all, in America, we have no homeless people. That's the wrong term to label people as homeless because of the simple fact is we have too many services given in this nation that no one is beyond receiving help.
Okay, so if you don't have a place to live, I have to interject.
Finish your thought because you were saying that these homeless people there, you keep saying homeless people, they if these laws are passed and then they'll go start robbing, they're already doing the very same things you're saying. That's why you're double talking.
No, okay, well let me respond.
The poor person, let me finish the
okay,
thought.
Well, you've said a lot of things.
The key to the solution is if you have food and clothing and shelter, that's enough for anybody. It has nothing to do with the amount of wealth you have. The thing is we have a lot of laziness.
You're missing a lot.
We have a lot of people that are running from responsibility.
D, hang on the line. Line. I want to give you a chance to respond. First of all, if you don't have a place to live, whether that's a home or an apartment, you want to call it apartmentless or homeless, we're getting in the weeds here.
They have family. These people are not homeless. They have family.
They don't have a place to live.
Let me tell you. No. They burn bridges. There are people that would take them into
So you're telling me that all these homeless people have a place to live and they just choose to live on the streets?
My mother, one of my mother's cousins, a veteran. And he had, the thing is, my brother, I told him, you never give a homeless, what we call homeless people, which is no thing. I said, if a person asked you for money and they said they're hungry, I said, no, you take them to eat. You meet the need. You take them to eat if they're hungry. You don't give them money. And so he said, this particular individual, it was my mother's cousin. He had just paid on his burial. And he took us to his home, and I said, cousin, why are you on the streets? He says, well, if someone wants to feel sorry for me, I don't mind taking what they want to give me.
And I understand.
So it's not. We don't have a homeless problem.
Okay, but here's my problem. But here's my problem with what you're saying. That is that specific situation. Every single person.
No, that's one situation.
Okay, I understand. Let me finish.
You made reference to veterans.
I
understand. We have a lot of veterans on the street,
understand.
But they're not homeless. They're getting an income.
Okay,
remember, these men work in the field.
Okay, let's try
to being out on the streets. They don't mind that you have people that are lazy and running from responsibility.
My problem with what you're doing is you're making generalizations on every single person.
It's not homelessness.
Okay, first of all, there are people out there that have mental illness. There are people out there that have drug problems, alcohol.
Mental illness. Anybody can claim mental illness when they don't.
So you're telling me that? Okay, so let me just get your position straight, D. You're telling me that you believe all the homeless people. They have a place to live. They have the means. Hold on, let me finish. Let me ask you. Let me finish.
Remove homeless.
Okay.
There's no such thing as a homeless person.
I gave you ample time. Let me finish.
There's
okay.
No homeless person.
Okay, that's fine.
If
you disagree with me with that word tough, I'm going to use it whether you like it or not.
You
now,
use it, but
I want to ask you. Okay, I would like to ask you. Okay, I would like to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
I want to make sure I understand your position, D. Yeah. Your position is that if you are homeless, all homeless people have the means to live somewhere. They have family that will bring them in or friends that will bring them in. It is your position that all these people that are on the streets are making a choice and they choose to live like that? Is that your position?
It's not my position as far as what they choose because you make your life what it is. I don't care whether you remember this nation was a nation of slavery, okay? And to say that these people, they deserve a hand up for doing nothing, that's not so because my parents...
I didn't say that. Where did I say that?
I'm Jewish, first of all, okay?
Okay, as am I. So what?
Yeah, but see, the thing is, we got this whole thing that if you're living on the streets, you can say living on the street. Don't call them homeless.
So, all right, D, I know we're going in circles here. First of all, I find it unbelievable that we have this huge homeless issue, and I'm going to use the term homeless whether you like it or not, okay? We have a huge issue in society with these people, and you call up and 90% of the phone calls, you have a problem with me using the word homeless. Why don't you have a problem with some of these people that are struggling? Why don't you have a problem with some of these people that don't have anywhere to go? Why don't you have a problem with some of these people that are mentally ill that need help? And you're calling it a handout or a hand up or whatever you want to call it, and your big issue with me is calling them homeless? I completely 150% disagree with you. Many of these people, it is not their choice. They have nowhere else to go. And just because you have one story of somebody in your family that made the choice doesn't mean that everybody else is in that same situation. I'm sorry, D. I appreciate the call, but I couldn't disagree with you more. And yes, if somebody doesn't have a place to live, they are homeless. 257-5396. Lisa, you're next. What's going on?
Good morning. Yes, I couldn't disagree with Dee more strongly. And she is part of the problem, not the solution. That we have a homeless problem for several reasons. They're varied, and one person does not indicate the whole community. And that's part of our whole social problem. I have a daughter who's homeless. We have brought her home many, many times. She's an addict. She needs help for her addiction. We cannot find help for her addiction. So there's many families trying to help. The system it's crumbling. We have to fix it. And people like Dee do not help. You can't just feed somebody and expect that they're lazy because they don't accept a meal.
No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, Lisa.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, Lisa.
And
yeah, go ahead.
It's. I wasn't going to call because it's a very sensitive subject. Having a homeless daughter as a parent to be looking on the
No,
street.
Lisa, you're the type of people that I want to hear from. Lisa, make no mistake, and I'm up against a break. I apologize. I'd love you to call back another time, Lisa. You're the type of person I want to hear from because you're experiencing it, okay? You know what it's like to have a daughter that is on the streets, and my heart goes out to you. And people like Dee who call up who think that, it's all their fault and we shouldn't help them. It is absurd. We're going to take more of your phone calls. 257-5396, 702-257-5396. I promise I will get to all your calls on the other side of the break. We're talking about this new ordinance that was put into place, fining someone $1,000, putting them in jail if they're sleeping on the streets. We'll take a quick break, take more of your phone calls on the other side. You are listening to The Vegas Take. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us. On a Thursday, we're talking about this very controversial ordinance that was put into place in regards to the homeless situation. And, I say in Las Vegas because this pertains here, but it's an issue that is happening throughout the country, certainly in California. And this new ordinance basically says that if a homeless person is sleeping on the streets and if they don't go to a shelter, appears as though regardless whether or not the shelter's full or not, they can receive up to a $1,000 fine, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And they could spend up to 6 months in jail. And make no mistake about it, jails are not set up for people who are homeless. They are for criminals. I want to get your thoughts on this at 257-5396, 702-257-5396. And a reminder, coming up here at the top of the hour, Republican candidate for president Mark Sanford will be joining us. Again, that number 257-5396. Let's start off with Sheila. Sheila, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well, I was homeless here in Las Vegas with my husband and my daughter, and it's not a matter of shelters per se. It's a matter of the resources that Las Vegas highly lacks for their homeless.
But can you, and listen, you lived this, so I want to hear from you. Let me ask you this. How did you get out of that situation? I'm assuming you are not homeless anymore.
No, I'm not. We actually got housing through Help of Southern Nevada.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so there were some resources that helped you, but you think the resources aren't sufficient, and you were one of the lucky ones. Is that fair to say?
Correct. And I was also, I dealt with being homeless in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah.
And their big focus out there is mental health. That is a huge issue, mental health and veterans.
Sure,
and
I agree.
They kind of go hand in hand.
Listen, I agree. And in the first segment I talked about that. So let me ask you this. When somebody calls in, like one of the callers last segment who says that you all are lazy, get up and get a job, and then when Carolyn Goodman puts this ordinance into place that says if you're homeless, you could receive up to a $1,000 fine, which I think is ridiculous, and you could go to jail for up to 6 months. What would you say to our mayor as someone who was homeless with your family?
She's ridiculous and needs to rethink this bill. is it's not going to make the problem easier. It's going to make it worse. And as for finding employment, you literally have to have a card for everything to get a job in Nevada.
So you agree with me too?
Sheriff's card, gaming card. It's ridiculous.
So, Sheila, you agree with me, too, because it's my opinion that if they're going to throw people fines and throw them in jail, wouldn't it make the problem worse in this sense that some of these homeless people, they feel like they have no other choice, they'd be committing more crimes?
Exactly.
So you agree with me. Well, I'm going to tell you something, Sheila. Your opinion means a lot more to me than somebody else who hasn't been homeless before. I'm so happy for you and your family that you're able to get out of that situation, and you're doing better now, Sheila. I'm really happy for you, and I appreciate your story. Thank you so much. Glad that somebody was able to help her. 257-5396. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Nan. Nan, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about this?
I think it's terrible. There's no compassion or empathy, and it's not what the USA is made about. I think, I'm a senior citizen. I've been forced through traumatic experiences to be in a situation that is nearly homeless. I have been through a lot. I've had windows shot out of a job that I had of being a caretaker because they didn't want me there. I've been forced now because I can't afford any apartment or anything to live out of a rental vehicle.
Are you living out of a car right now?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. And you don't have a job?
No. Who's going to hire a senior citizen that doesn't have any training? I'm a displaced homemaker, and it's like I've been vandalized, I've been victimized. You name it, I've been through it all.
Nan, you know what, Nan? You're not lazy. It's not like you don't want to work. So what would you say to somebody like that who's never been in your situation before? And I'm so sorry you're in that situation. What would you say to somebody that calls into this show and says, "Oh, you all people are not homeless. You could go somewhere if you needed to go somewhere. You're lazy." What would you say to somebody like that?
I'd say you're wrong, and I would disagree with them because there are situations that people don't like to even share, and if they don't communicate their problem to people, then how is it going to get resolved?
So, what do you think? What do you think is the solution to this? It seems like a loaded question, and I don't really know the answer to it. What do we do with the homeless situation here?
Well, there should be more resources and more beds because you go into a homeless shelter, from what I found out, and there's not any available, and you have to be there at a certain time, otherwise you don't get the shelter, no matter who you are. So it should be open, for people to be able to go in there, on call in emergency situations. They don't even have that. I mean, I look at it as an 8-to-5 job, and that's not the way people live.
No, you're right, Nan. You're right.
You're
right, Nan. I listen. I really do appreciate the phone call, and I'm so sorry about your circumstance. I hope you stay safe, and I really hope there is a place out there that will say, you know what, we'll hire you. I don't care if it's $8 an hour or minimum wage, a cashier, some place out there that can hire a good woman like yourself who clearly wants to work, who is not lazy. Again, that number to call is 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Whoa, went back to puberty there for a second. 257-5396. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about this?
Well, it's a multifaceted problem. It's, as you've been stating, Brian, there's a whole bunch of different things involved here. But do you think that it's compassionate to let somebody camp out on the sidewalk in front of a business?
No.
Impeding traffic into that business and
no.
Defecating on the sidewalk, urinating on the sidewalk?
No, it's horrible.
Throwing their hypodermic needles in the gutter?
No, it's horrible, but I don't think the solution, Brian, is giving a homeless person a $1,000 fine either. I don't think that's the answer.
Well, what they're doing is they have to have some sort of a mechanism to clean the people off the sidewalks. You've got, as I told your producer, I posted on your website under the thing from Stretch Sanders a couple days ago. I just put it on there. It's a video, 1-hour special done by Como News in Seattle on this very problem. It's called Seattle is Dying.
Yep.
And it's going to show you both sides of the story, not just one side, but both sides. And it's going to show you the people who are affected, the businesses. There's a Jewish graveyard where they can't even go in and decorate their graves because the homeless have set up encampments surrounding the whole place. and every day they have to go in and clean up hypodermic needles, defecation, garbage, and it's gotten beyond a joke. And so one other thing I'd like to mention is the reason there are so many mentally challenged people on the sidewalks today is because back in the 80s, the ACLU said it was unlawful to keep people in mental places where they were getting mental health for their situation.
Brian, I have to ask you a question.
Out onto the street.
I understand. I have to ask you this though. Again,
yes.
I don't disagree that it's terrible. I don't want to see these homeless people out there struggling. I want them all to get the help that many of them I believe need. But I do not believe, as I said, the answer is giving somebody a fine and sending them to jail. I don't think that's the answer either.
Well, and it's not. It's part of the answer, though.
How is part of the answer fining a homeless person $1,000? Explain that to me.
Did you also see there's a grace period for 3 months?
I don't care how long the grace period is. If they don't have a job, Brian, if you don't have a job, how are you going to come up with $1,000? I don't care if it's a month or 3 months or 6 months. If you're not working, do you think these homeless people care about getting a ticket, cited for a ticket? Yeah.
I have a homeless daughter, okay? She's 45 years old.
Okay.
She's lost her children. She had a very good job. She had a very good car. She had a 3-bedroom, very nice apartment. And within 10 years, she's thrown it all away because of bad choices that she's made with men,
Brian,
with drugs, and other things.
Okay,
and so she's
Brian,
living on the street
I understand.
right now in Salt Lake City.
Brian, I understand. Let me just interject here real quickly, and I apologize, Brian. I got to get to some other callers. But here's my problem with you bringing that up, and I truly am sorry that your daughter is going through that. But that is your daughter. That is your circumstance. That is that specific situation. Just because your daughter made bad decisions, just because your daughter maybe has had some bad luck with men, does not mean that every single homeless person on the street made those same choices. Every situation is different, Brian. And again, I'm sorry your daughter's going through that with those personal choices that she made. And I'm sure if she had to do it all over again, she would have done it differently. But every individual that is homeless has a different story, with all due respect. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Robert. Robert, you are next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, I got a comment for Brian there.
I'm right here, okay. Robert. I'm right here.
Okay. You're right. Every situation is different. But if giving homeless a fine is okay, well, let's see. Put them in jail. You need jail guards. It's going to cost more money that way.
I agree.
Why don't they just build more shelters?
I agree, Robert. I couldn't agree with you more. I am so against this new ordinance put in place. The fine is absurd. Jails were not meant to keep homeless people in there and serve them 3 meals a day. They are for criminals. Okay, and you're right. From what I've heard, listen, Robert, you've been listening, right? You've been listening this hour. Yep. We've had several women call in that are homeless, that are saying the main reason for that is not, necessarily because of the situations or the decisions they made. There's not enough help. There's not enough shelter. There's not enough situations out there that are helping people like this. And I feel sorry for them if that's the case. And instead of putting these stupid ordinances into place and costing taxpayer money for putting somebody in jail, how about building a few more shelters? Why can't we start there?
Yeah, that don't take overtime and everything else, because you don't need guards at shelters.
Right. No, you're right. To me, this is, listen, I'm sure you'll agree, Robert, this is a difficult situation. There's not one easy solution. If we built a couple shelters, there'd probably still be some homeless people out there. I have no doubt about that. But why not start? But why not start there, right? Let's give these people some more resources. And, some of these people need some help, right? I'm sure there are some, not all, but I'm sure there are some of these people that are so effed up in the head that they wouldn't even go to that shelter because they don't know what's good for them. And these people need help. It's going to cost taxpayer money.
Right. Well, if people are out there listening, hey, a little quick resume. I'm 55, very capable of working, plenty of experience everywhere.
Right.
But I'm homeless. Who the hell wants to hire me if I can't even take a shower every day?
Sadly, Robert, you're right. And this is an issue in society, and I don't know what the easy fix is. I appreciate the call, Robert. Thank you. 257-5396 is the number to call. Why don't we go to John? John, you're next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
What up, Brian? It's John Brew.
What's going on, man? What do you think about this?
Oh, Oh, well, I just had a little story for you, and I wanted to get your opinion on it.
Sure.
There's a woman, I live in the southwest part of town, and there's not a ton of panhandlers over there. And there's this one woman who I happen to know her story. She's, about 70 years old. She got cancer, lost her job, and she became homeless. And when she panhandles, she's on this quiet corner, and she's, you could see she's full of shame. She doesn't want to be out there. She hangs her head in shame. And whenever I get a chance, I'll, give her $20. And I'm not one to give panhandlers money most of the time, but This woman, I know her story, everything else.
Sure.
One time I pulled over, and I was on my bike, and I gave her $20, and she was so thankful. And she, every time I do it, she almost comes to tears.
Mm.
And 2 different cars started screaming expletives at me for helping this woman. Now, while the way they went about it is probably disgusting, I understand their point, because if I'm helping one panhandler and somebody else finds out, people are giving panhandlers $20 at this corner, next thing you know, it's like the broken window syndrome, where all of a sudden more people are going to come. And I think people have the right to not have panhandlers on their street corners.
I agree.
So,
I agree with that. I don't think the answer is giving people money. I've never given a homeless person money. I know many people that have, and I'm sure you're doing it for all the right reasons. John, I personally believe that you should be giving people food and resources. Soap. I think that's more valuable.
Many times, like I said, I'm not one to give money to panhandlers.
Sure. I understand.
One particular woman, I know her story. But many, many times I see homeless people outside of McDonald's, and I'll buy an extra meal and give them the meal, and so on and so forth. But I found the one underlying constant in all of the phone calls, all of the stories, is that every single case is different.
And John, you're right. John, I got to get to some other callers, John. I appreciate the call. You're absolutely right. Every case is different. Before I take another phone call, I want to play for you this audio, okay? This is Mayor Carolyn Goodman, who did an interview a few days ago. I like Carolyn Goodman, but I got to tell you, I'm really pissed off. I'm really pissed off at this new ordinance and her reaction to this. She was asked some questions about this new ordinance. This was on Fox 5 the other day. Here's Carolyn Goodman in her own words.
This is a population that doesn't understand. That's what this is directed to say. We're here to help you. I don't want help. Leave here. I don't want any help. That is not what we want. We want to hear, please help me. I want the help. Get me help. Get me food. Get me clean. I don't like the disease.
First of all, that reminded me of Donald Trump. I don't want to help. What are you doing, Carolyn? You sound like you sound ridiculous when you do that. Are you mocking someone that maybe has a speech impediment, or maybe has a drug problem, or maybe is mentally ill? Because certainly that's what it sounded like to me, Carolyn. You sound foolish. And if we can get Carolyn on, I would love to ask her why she decided to imitate her version of somebody that is homeless that maybe is mentally ill. That was absurd. And that was an embarrassment. What do you mean the population that doesn't understand? I think we all understand, Carolyn. What the hell are you talking about? 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Joe. Joe, you're next on the Vegas Take. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, hey, in my opinion of what I would do, maybe it's the ACLU wouldn't like it, but there are a lot of military bases that are either abandoned or not being used. These people could be picked up, taken there, housed, rehabilitated. Peace Corps could take care of these people.
Joe, can I ask you something? Because I don't know if you heard me earlier, but Oscar Goodman actually suggested something similar to what you're talking about. Have you heard about this? It's 30 miles south of Las Vegas, this former jail in Jean. It's got air conditioning, and it's medically ready to help these people. So you would agree with that, right?
Yeah. And if people don't want to go into a house, they could take their tents and live on the base or on the perimeter.
Yeah.
And still have facilities.
No, I'm with you. Listen, I'm with you, Joe, 100%. I mean, I think this is what we need to do. There's no question about it. What we need to do is we need to figure out with some sort of solution. Joe, I think you're onto something. I agree with you. I agree with Oscar Goodman. Let's put these people on an abandoned military base. Let's put these people at an abandoned jail. It's certainly better than being on the streets, and it's a lot better than citing them for a $1,000 fine, which is absolutely and totally absurd. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Dale. Dale, you're next. What's on your mind?
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I just think, in all honesty, like you said, that there's no point to fine people $1,000.
Yeah, it's stupid.
What they're really doing is they're just setting everybody up for failure.
Right.
You're going into a jail system. then you're going to get out. Within a month, you're going to have a warrant. And then they're going to arrest you again, put you back in jail. And the city gets $150 every day you're sitting in jail. So it's just a way for them to make money and to get people off the streets so it looks cleaner. So it's a win-win for them. They really don't care about helping anybody.
Sadly, I think that the majority of politicians, and it really pains me to say this, but I agree with you, the majority of politicians, their top priority is not helping the homeless. I mean, sadly, right?
You know, Brian, but you have to ask yourself, are they safer on the streets or are they safer in jail?
Are they safer on the streets or are they safer in jail? Well, I would personally say in some circumstances they might be safer on the streets, and in some circumstances they might be safer in jail. As I said, I think it's a case-by-case basis. Go ahead.
Well, if you're in jail, you're just going to sit there and go crazy. I mean, I've been locked up, and there's no positive thing that comes from it except for meeting more criminals, learning more ways on how to scam the system, and then you're just getting set up into failure. And if you don't have any help, you're not going to beat the system because they don't care if your job interferes with you showing up to court, anything.
Yeah. But you're guaranteed a bed, you're guaranteed meals, you aren't guaranteed access to drugs, you aren't guaranteed access to gambling.
Yeah, no,
a lot of the things that probably made you homeless in the first place, you don't have access to.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, if you don't have temptation, yes, it definitely helps with that.
All right. Well, listen, Dale.
The problem is you got to get yourself out of the situation. If
exactly.
You don't have help
and that's the hard part.
And they also have.
And that's the hard part, Dale. And by the way, I appreciate the phone call.
Thanks for the call, Dale.
And I agree with you. 257-5396, the number to call. Again, that number, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Sean. Sean, you're next. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. One, I'm a disabled veteran, so I got lucky.
Thank you for your service.
When I became homeless, I ended up at Veterans Village, so I had a resource there. But I got to tell you something. Carolyn Goodman isn't far off. What she said was, and the way she said it was wrong. But there's a large group of homeless people, and I know this because I used to give them clothes. I worked on a line once a month, give them out clothes, food, all kinds of stuff, resources, bus passes. We took them to the dentist, get dental work done so we could get them jobs. And there's a large group that do it as a profession. They travel around the country. They come to Vegas in the wintertime from like Ohio, and they'll come out here in the winter because it's warmer. They're homeless here. Then they get a bus pass back to Ohio in the summer because it gets too hot here.
Yeah.
And it's a problem. But we need better resources with mental health because of that group of people and the veterans, get screwed out there.
Yeah.
Because they don't even know that they have mental health issues.
No, listen, Sean, here's the thing. I don't disagree with what you're saying. And I think the problem is we need people to come together. We need people like yourself, people on maybe both sides of this issue that maybe won't agree on everything, but to come up with some sort of solution for the good of the taxpayer and, guess what, for the good of these people that need help. And I appreciate
we need to open hospitals.
Absolutely.
Mental health is a huge issue in this country.
I agree, Sean. Thank you for the phone call. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. I want to do this real quick. I was thinking about this. So there's a guy that's on the line right now. Speaking of mentally ill, there's a guy that is on the line right now. He has complained about this show. He has complained to management about this show. He has basically threatened me on the air. And I said to myself, I'm probably not going to let this guy call in anymore because he is mentally ill, okay? But I want to bring him on the line. I've decided that I want to do this, as a couple people probably would disagree with me on this. But, Wilfrey, why do you continue to listen to this show? Oh, good. He stopped listening. Okay. Wilfrey, don't call back here anymore. Don't call into this show anymore. If you're going to complain about this show to people and you have a problem with what we do, then, go take a flying you-know-what.
Yeah, and the Alan Berg comparison was completely over the top.
Nobody knows.
And unnecessary.
Nobody knows what you're talking about. Alan Berg he is a guy who. No, you know what? I'm not even going to repeat that. Let's not even talk about it. Yeah, I wouldn't even bring that up. But there are certain people, listen, that disagree with what we do and disagree with an opinion. I have no problem with that. They're welcome to call in and debate. Don't say something stupid, but call in and have a good debate. That's fine. But when you decide to complain about maybe hate speech, I think is one word that this gentleman described it as. It's absurd.
Well, he basically suggested that I reach across the table and try to attack you for you disagreeing with me on multiple occasions.
All right, well, he's on the line right now. Wilfrey, I'm not going to let you call into the show anymore, okay? My belief is that you're a nut job. You've said negative things about this show. You've called into other shows. I am banning you from calling the show. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's communistic and un-American.
Well, guess what? I think you're a nut job. Goodbye. You're never calling into the show again. You are banned from calling into the show. The second you call into another show bashing this show and complain to management about the show means you're a loser, you need to get a life, and you're never calling into this show again. Have a nice day, Wilfrey. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to be joined by Republican presidential candidate Mark Sanford. This is going to be a lot of fun, folks. Interesting guy. Interesting past. I've been looking forward to speaking with him, and he'll be joining us next on the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.